Namaskar, guys. This is Sourav Jain, and I'm starting up with my interview series where I catch up with digital marketing agency heads, popular digital marketers across the world, and I throw open questions that you generally have on your mind. So today on our show, we have Sanjay and Harish, who runs this popular agency called Mirum India, and which was earlier known as Social Wavelength. So Social Wavelength got acquired by JWT, and that became Mirum. So it's a very inspiring journey for all the digital marketing agency heads. So welcome to the show, guys. Hi, Sanjay and Harish.
Hi, Sourav.
Hi Saurav. Hi Sanjay.
Hi. So I'll just
Hi.
set the context of this show, Sanjay and Harish. The context is I'll raise some questions, which is respect to how you guys started up, then some questions or tips which you might want to give to agency owners, and then we'll have quick one-on-one rapid fire. So are you guys game?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Lovely. So
Copy
let's
that,
get
Sourav.
started. Super. So let's get started. This question is basically for both of you. Can you just quickly have an introduction about how you guys started your journey, how Social Wavelength was formed, how you both connected? So what's been the story behind you both working as co-founders of the organization? And what's been the revenue, number of people? Basically, a quick introduction about your organization. So Sanjay, you can take the lead, and then we will pass it on to Harish.
Sure. So in fact, Harish and I go back a long way. So we were classmates in engineering school and then went to the US to pursue our masters at the same university in Los Angeles. So in that sense, we've known each other for a long time. And prior to this current agency, which started out as Social Wavelength, we actually ran a previous startup called HomeIndia.com, which ran from 1998 till 2007. And so, basically, from a point of view of knowing each other or coming together, it's sort of a self-explanatory that we've known each other for a long time. But post HomeIndia.com, oh, by the way, just can't resist this. The HomeIndia.com story we have recently penned into a book. The book is called "If I Had to Do It Again." So it was a
Lovely.
very interesting roller coaster ride. And in fact, the context is, as you say, the book name is "If I Had to Do It Again." So a lot of the learnings from that previous startup have come into being in this current business or current agency world which we've put together. So there is a context to that book and the story and the learnings. Anyway, getting back to this track. So post HomeIndia.com, which we divested out of in 2007, we spent a couple of years in the professional world working for other companies. But in that time, the interest to get back to entrepreneurship and get back to a venture never died. And we saw through our readings and through, especially following international stories, the coming of age of social media, or rather a very early stage just happening, nurturing at that point, getting started. And we reckoned that it's always good to get into a venture when it's early days or it's a little nascent, rather than by the time it's already mature. So we took the plunge again in 2009 and got together again to start Social Wavelength, which originally started out as being a pure play social media agency. But over this journey of 10 years, it has clearly evolved into a full services digital media agency offering pretty much everything that a client would want, from creative and media and technology, marketing automation, everything under one roof. We're about 250 kind of people across Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, these kinds of places. Largely, the biggest base is Mumbai, but we have presence in these other cities as well. We'll let Harish take on and add some more about our journey and about our current status.
Please, Harish, take the lead.
Yeah, so I guess Sanjay's given an overview in terms of what the journey has been and where we are. As we stand right now, we have three key areas of practice. One is creative and media. So we do digital strategy planning for brands, creatives, content creation, media buying and planning. The second vertical is technology. So we have skills on all kinds of platforms, be it Adobe Experience Manager, Sitecore, Drupal, building apps, building applications. And the third area of practice is marketing automation, where we partner very closely with Salesforce for the last many years and have evolved with them right from the days of Radian 6 to Buddy Media, Social Studio, now Exact Target, DMP, Crux coming in. We don't really see ourselves as an agency. Agency, in my opinion, is a misnomer kind of a term. We are more of a digital solutions company. A brand comes to us with a problem, and the problem may have a media solution, it may have a technology solution, it may have a marketing automation solution, or it may have all of the three put together. So we really see ourselves more like a digital solutions company, playing with a lot of strategic thinking, not just tactical approach. And we also collaborate very well with JWT in India and Mirum globally to be sure that we can enable our support wherever they require. So it's been an awesome journey so far.
So I believe that you guys have pretty much taken the 10 years challenge very seriously. And right now I see a major transformation that has happened. Now, what are some of the crucial factors
You're
that
talking
was
about our
taken?
looks, or what are you talking about? Our faces?
No,
Or?
not from the looks perspective,
Okay.
but from the transformation of the whole agency business
Yeah.
is very, very inspiring. So what was the learning curve, or what was the driving curve that actually got the company acquired, and why was this decision being made? And so the ideology behind getting your company Social Wavelength acquired by JWT to form a new agency altogether. So what's the story behind this, and how did this happen, and what are some of the crucial factors that an agency owner needs to take into consideration while they are putting their thoughts in place to get acquired?
Yeah, so if I may take this question, taking a bit of learning from our first venture, homeindia.com, and if we read the book in homeindia.com, we had a very good acquisition opportunity that came to us very early days, But as an entrepreneur, you're constantly looking for the best price. Can I keep waiting for the best price? So Home India was given its first round of funding sometime in March 99. And in December 99, we had somebody willing to acquire us for an astronomical sum of $17 million. And for
Wow,
some
that's
reason, we
amazing.
decided not to go ahead with the deal because we were hoping to get even a better deal. And then the market crashed and those days never came back. We kept on working year after year, waiting for the best deal to come. So a big learning for us was, as an entrepreneur, if you have a very clear strategy and you find something on the table, don't wait for the best price. It's like stock market. You can never get the best price. Once your target is reached, you need to be sure you need to start moving on. The second thing, we
Right.
could see a lot of power in collaboration. We could see that if you are going to collaborate with WPP or JWT, it can actually make us reach our eventual destination faster. If on our
Right.
own we got to a place X in 10 years time, along with them will be like 5X in 10 years time. So that
Right.
collaboration and synergy really made it very important that if we need to continue growing, sustaining, it's a good partnership to go ahead with.
Right.
Just to add to what Harish said, just to be clear also, we were in the business for about 4 years when we started talking to JWT at that point. Now, just to be clear, we were not out in the market to get acquired. It's not like we had found some, investment banker and said, hey, find us a buyer or something like that. We were already collaborating with JWT on some client work, and we found that the chemistry was really good. And the person who was heading the JWT kind of relationship for us at that time reckoned that, digital is the way forward and this relationship is good. And he asked us if we were open to a potential, acquisition. And we said, fine, let's look at it. And then, of course, the whole process was initiated and took a while from that point to actually the closure. But like I said, it was not that, we were sort of saying, oh, now it's good time to get acquired. It was not that. It just that it was a great relationship and it worked out.
Actually, that's interesting. So basically, it was the journey of the relationship between you and JWT and the working patterns actually defined this entire synergy, right? Is what I understand.
Right, that's correct.
So that's an interesting learning, basically. So people who are looking to take that path, it's important to find the right fix and start pitching to people who you've already been working with. So that's a good learning up there. You guys have written a book, and what's the ideology behind the book, and why should someone read the book? So what is that I'm going to get out of the book that out of the book that you guys have written?
That's a very interesting question, Sourav. When we talk of successful entrepreneurs, we keep thinking of Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and whatever, Mukesh Ambani. But we don't realize that for every one successful entrepreneur, there are 10,000 entrepreneurs who are finding it hard to put food on the table. So
Right.
we need to celebrate success and failures equally as much. And if you read the Home India story, the Home India story didn't have a great ending. We started off very well. We went through a long journey. We kept trying. We kept struggling. At the end of it, we couldn't get the kind of exit we wanted. So we thought it's a
Right.
great story to share with people. How do you go through all these ups and downs? How do you keep on tweaking your business model because you believe in it? And at what point of time do you need to take a call and say, I need to kind of move on in life? And finally, what are those learnings from that which you are able to absorb, come back into another business and make it successful? When the title of the book is If I Had to Do It Again, I mean, we believe when we did Social Wavelength and Mirum, we actually did it again. What we put into the first time around. So to me,
Right.
failures are stepping stone to success. It's not just a kavat or a muhavara, it's a fact. And that's the fact that panned out in our case.
Right. So you guys didn't lose the hope, right? You didn't exit on the right time, but that was a learning curve that when I'm starting my second company, I need to exit on the right time.
Absolutely.
So
And plenty of such
exit,
learnings across the book.
so the
Right.
exit is just exit is not the only thing. I mean, there is just a whole bunch of learnings in terms of running the enterprise itself. So,
Hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't make a whole lot out of the whole exit thing. Exit is one of the many things which happens in the journey of creating and, building out a business. So, but there is a whole lot of learning. So while it's a story of homeindia.com and the story of the two of us and our enterprise, I think the idea was that in an anecdotal way, in sharing our story on a day-to-day basis, the various things that we did, the various things we tried, the various struggles and successes that we saw on the way, I think a lot of budding entrepreneurs, existing entrepreneurs might find an identification of their journey also in it. When you read a story of Amazon or Facebook or GE or something, it's so far away from where a typical entrepreneur is that you can't find identification. The scale is a very, very different one. Here it's a
Right.
question of a similar business for a lot of young entrepreneurs. They'll see that they're going through a very similar kind of situation, whether it's about raising money, whether it's about retaining people, etc., kind of things which we have talked about in the book.
So how did you come up with the title of this book?
So in fact, the book was initiated just after we exited homeindia.com. It's just that, in fact, the funny part is, as your viewers might want to understand, is that post 2007 was the first time that both of us actually went out looking for a job. And, it's not like the job is there to take. So we were having some time as we actually went out, interviewed, etc. And that was a time that we had some time to spare, and we started writing the story because it was fresh and new, and we realized that there was something interesting that we had gone through in the last 9 years, and it's worth telling. So that's when we thought that, okay, we've gone through this again. If we had to do it differently, what would be kind of the learning? So that's where the inspiration to the title came. It just so happened that very quickly, both of us got jobs and we got busy. So finally, the book took a whole long time to get done, and it got released only now. And by the time it has released, as Hareesh mentioned, we've sort of done it again. So the if is a little less relevant today in the sense it's actually that we have done it. Hopefully there is a sequel that we can do in coming years, which talks about how we did it again.
Perfect. That's interesting. So what's the culture of your agency like? So how do you define Mirum's culture today? That you have built it so big and with so many people. So how do you maintain a culture? And what are some of the parameters that you fix on saying that this is what defines us?
So two or three quick things I would like to point out. One is, we have a very, very strong leadership team. I've had a chance to meet a lot of agencies and agency owners, and it will not be out of place for me to say that probably our leadership team that we have is one of the strongest leadership teams that we have seen. I mean, pretty much I and Sanjay can be out of the office for a whole month and nobody will miss us at all. Neither of us will ever be the first point of call for anything. If it's a client issue, if it's a HR issue, a finance issue, admin issue, we will never ever be the first point of call. Nobody will think us calling us first. There'll always be somebody else who will be able to pick up the ball, and we will always end up being a point of escalation. Now, to me, that's a big important learning in building a scalable organization. If the entrepreneur remains the bottleneck for everything, you cannot scale up. So from day one, our objective was to overinvest in business, get senior people ahead of time, and people who are smarter ahead of time. If as an entrepreneur you surround yourself with people who are less smart than you, then you are the smartest guy in town. You need to actually get people who are smarter than you. So my creative guy knows far more about creative than I do, and my tech guy knows an understanding of tech far more than I do. So that second level leadership team in the organization is really very strong. Second is a very strong culture of learning. And this is something I have heard from people who have left us and then you come back and meet us saying, sir, what we learned here, I mean, we never learn anywhere. In the industry, it is said that if you want to learn digital marketing, then social wellness or Mirum is the Mecca where you should go and learn. I think that's a matter of great pride. We believe we are here to build an industry, not just a company. You know, industry build hogi to company apne aap build ho jayega. So can we seed more and more digital talent? You know, can people from our company go and join other agencies, other brands, and carry the digital culture? If the industry expands, I'm sure we'll get room to grow.
So,
Fantastic. That's an interesting.
and to add
Yes.
add something to what Harish said. So besides this, just to give you a perspective for your viewers and people who are seeing this recording, if you take the two of us away, it's the rest of the team is extremely young. Probably the average age is about 27, 28, and it's a genuinely open culture in the sense that everybody can pretty much walk into anybody's door, including ours, anytime and engage. We believe, and we believe that there's a lot of mutual respect around the organization. We have the lowest levels of, so to say, agency politics or one-upmanship or something. There is a sense of collaboration across teams. There's a sense of collaboration across different functions in the organization. There's a collaboration across the different cities, the offices that we have. There's Mumbai, Delhi, etc. And of course, there's a lot of fun. If agency life is not fun, then where else would you find fun? So we have a lot of events. Where, internally in the office, we have picnics and parties and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's a fun place to be in. And of course, there's a lot of learning because of the range of work, the kind of clients, the mixed bag that we have from B2B, B2C, different domains. A person spending a few years at Mirum has got a real breadth of experience across different functional, different verticals and different domains. So that's what they see. And I think the great thing is people have formed amazing bonds inside the organization. So we have just so many people who left us, but they keep coming back to meet their friends. And, so that's I think we find a strong, so to say, alumni of Mirum out there, and it's lovely.
I think that's a great thought, right? So I think leadership is one of the most important factors because as an agency owner myself, something that I've been focusing on is to build a team. But one great takeaway here is that I think most of the agency owners in India would agree that the kind of product that we bring out in the market, people who've been working with us, the knowledge that the agency imbibes, I think the learning curve is completely different when compared to any other place. Do you guys agree to that? I think the agency as a culture itself puts in so much of knowledge or experience that I don't think they basically get to see anywhere else.
No, that is true because, there are times when people who work with us, have opportunity to go at the clients and it may be a really big brand and, whatever. But the point is that if you're inside a client office, especially since you mentioned agency and you compare a client role to an agency role, at an agency, you just see so many different things happening. So the kind of learning you can get in an agency because of the breadth of work is so much deeper and better than being at a client's end where you're, of course, going deeper into one brand, but finally it's one brand, one vertical, one domain, and there's only so much budget. So I think an agency role definitely allows for a lot more learning and knowledge.
Lovely. Okay, so you're ahead towards my next question. Do you think the Indian digital marketing industry lacks talent? Having said this, there is a birth of a digital marketing training company, like how there was a birth of a digital marketing agency, or there is still one every other day. Do you still see that we don't see great talent in the domain space? And what are the challenges with respect to talent, and how do you overcome with respect to skilled digital marketers out there in the market?
So Sourav, to start with, I want to disagree with this statement that, we lack talent. And I
Okay.
from my HR all the time, ke aadmi nahi milta hai. I tell them, if in India you can't find people, where will you find people? We are 130 crore people. You need to work harder to find the right kind of talent. So first of all, this mindset that the talent is not there has to go away. No, talent is there. Maybe you have to work harder to get that kind of person. You have to
Right.
build a basis that maybe I have to look at 10 resumes to find one guy in a particular domain. Maybe in another domain, you look at 50 resumes to find one person. The industry has
Right.
ample talent. Okay. B, one has to invest also on building talent. If somebody joins you at a certain level, are you as an organization ensuring that the person has a learning path and is moving to the next level? That is a job of us as agency owners or business builders. So I think there is talent. You need to just work hard at finding the talent. B, whatever talent you get, you have to invest in training the talent.
Oh,
So
that's interesting one.
you
Lessons.
also referred to digital training available in the country, and actually, I mean, we have dear friends who are running training programs in India for digital, and they're doing a game job in trying to put something together. But if I say that, is it the kind of training from where I can just pick up somebody and put them directly onto a role and it'll be fine? Unfortunately, it's not easy to achieve that because of multiple reasons. One is, of course, the space is evolving so rapidly. I mean,
Right.
it's so hard for anybody to kind of keep up a curriculum which will constantly evolve, because if you're doing training as a business, you can't keep changing curriculum every day. But things are changing all the time, so that is one challenge. And secondly, the question is, I mean, the kind of learning that you can get in a real situation, working with clients, all the challenges and all the things which actually happen in practice, it's really hard to sort of simulate that in a training program. So it's a tough one. I think the way to go about it is to just pick good raw talent, in the sense of a certain kind of fundamental aptitude that you see in the person, and then bring them on board and sharpen them inside the agency, is probably the way that you would look for sort of shaping up young talent. Of course, experience is
Lovely.
a different thing. You kind of get people from other agencies or other roles. That's a different issue. But when you think of the starting point, I think it's probably easier done inside the agency than coming out from a training
So
institute.
what kind of talent development program does Mirum hold? So let's say I enter as a fresher, and where do I get driven from there? How does it all start?
Yeah, so a couple of things we do. One, of course, we have a full-time trainer in-house. I don't think I
Oh,
work with any agency with a full-time training cell. His job is to be sure that he's constantly training talent. If there's a new platform coming out, I mean, he's the guy who's supposed to absorb everything and very quickly ensure across the organization, everybody knows what is the platform and how to use the platform. He conducts regular tests in the organization. The training scores are linked to KRAs of individuals. On a weekly basis, he conducts a training session across the organization, trying to sensitize people to what is the new stuff that is happening. Some of our verticals, like the technology or marketing automation verticals, actually have like a proper learning path. When somebody joins, there's like a 45-day learning path. You're supposed to do a set of courses and curriculum. Some of it is online video, some of it is shadowing a client before you actually get ready to get onto the shop floor.
superb. So I think that's some learning for every agency owner up there. What I learned from here is a learning curve, 45 days period. There is a full-time trainer, which is an amazing fix. I think it's almost like research and development, right? Somebody who's just constantly researching and developing the talent right there, telling them what they need to learn for 2019 or 2020, right?
Or for the
Uh,
next week, because platforms are changing so fast.
Absolutely. And somebody has to constantly update us with new things in digital, what's happening. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. So what kind of departments does Mirum holds right now? So how do we split this? So let's say about 200 plus people, and what are the verticals internally that we are focusing on, and industry wise, which are the verticals that the organization focuses on, so that it's a lot of awareness, because not many people are knowing what's happening behind the screens of behind the scenes of Mirum. So how do you define this up?
Yeah, so we have three big verticals. One is creative and media, which is further broken down into art, copy, as well as media and client servicing as a vertical. The second big vertical for us is technology, where we have multiple practices. Like I said, we have an AEM practice, we have a Sitecore practice, we have a Drupal practice, we have practice on QC, and also practice on 24/7 support. So like sub departments within technology. And then we have the Salesforce marketing automation vertical, where one plays a social media command center, where we monitor client conversations 24/7. And then second is the exact target vertical, where you do setup using exact target and other marketing automation solutions. So that's more from a departmental level. From a business vertical level, there are two key focus areas that we have right now. One is healthcare and second is financial services. These are like two new business verticals that we actually intend to roll out in 2019. Having said that, we are kind of very much domain agnostic. So we have clients across spectrums, technology client, telecom client, auto client. We believe for a client, if there's a client has a brand problem, which can be solved digitally, we should be able to solve it. We are also very strong on the B2B front. We have not seen too many agencies doing a lot of B2B work. We do a lot of B2B work also. Sanjay, want to add something?
No, I think you covered it. So it's fine.
Okay, fantastic. So some tips, 5 tips that you would like to give to agency owners with respect to growing an agency. So Hareesh and Sanjay, you can put together your thoughts onto this.
So one of the first one I think was sort of covered when Hareesh talked about earlier in terms of getting leadership team. So I know that, when we started out in 2009, there were many other young agencies and some of them are not around today, unfortunately. I think a lot of times as passionate, digital professionals, you think that you want to do it all. You have the best creative ideas, you understand media well, you understand technology well, and you end up putting yourself as a founder in front of the client, trying to do everything. Now, what that does is that, you become an operations person. You're then not giving yourself any time to strategize the growth of the business. The fact, what Hareesh mentioned, that, because of our leadership team, the two of us are not involved in like a front-ending any relationship, or we could be out of the office for a month or whatever. Now, in reality, we are not out of the office. We are strategizing the next journey of the agency, and which has been a real sort of critical factor for us in constantly moving to the next level, that we've not been stuck down in an operational role pretty much from early days of the agency. So that's tip number 1. I'll pass on to Hareesh for tip number 2 by the time I come back.
The second tip is, keep the customer at the focus of your work. Sometimes a team member comes and tells me that, I think we can go and sell this client 50 lakhs worth of media. And my question is, selling the media is easy. How will you show ROI on the media? So figure that out. If you're going to be selling the client something, getting the check from the client is the easier part of it. Be clear, you will need to show value to the client for what you're doing. So always keep that at the back of your mind, whether you're coming up with a digital strategy or a media investment plan or a technology, what is the value to the client? If you were the client, how are you going to get your money back? If you don't have a good answer for it, that's a rubbish idea in my opinion. So keep the client at the center and be sure how are you creating value. Sanjay, back to you.
So the third tip I would say is that, be open to collaboration in order to, deliver the best final outcome to the client. So a lot of times, again, agencies I have seen have been very sensitive on, sort of sharing or collaborating. In fact, in very early days in 2009, 2010, digital agencies were like almost the pariahs in the marketing world. And, you would have some big mainline agencies taking you along and asking that, you be white labeled and, we won't reveal your name. And some digital agencies were not very sort of favorable or not willing to do that because they wanted to be their own brand name. In those days, the way we saw things evolve is that, hey, they're white labeling us, fine, they are taking us along. We are going to do the digital work. We are going to do the learning across a variety of clients. The learning will stay with us. The exposure will stay with us. And at some point, if we just want to disengage that and want to be on our own, that option always is there with us. So we were willing in those days to collaborate even as a white label agency. Now today, the scene is different. Today, we're talking about collaboration across the JWT world, collaboration across the Mirum global world, collaboration with Salesforce or collaboration with Group M or any other such partner. We are very willing because finally, it's a question of creating a win-win. It's not about, oh, I need to get the most revenue. I need to hold this close to my heart. In doing so, you're remaining small. In going with a lot of partners and giving the best to the final client, even at the question of doing some give and take, you are growing, you are building new partners and friendships. And obviously, once in a while, you give in, sometimes they give in, and it's overall, it ends up it's a clear win-win for you and the partner as well as for the client. So we really believe in collaboration as a big value.
Yeah, I'll take on the next one. So tip number 4 is this is finally a people's business. In an agency business, the only asset that we have are people. And you really need to believe in your people. Believing in people is not just a good HR policy or a company picnic, the ability to delegate, the ability to trust, the ability to allow them to make mistakes, giving them opportunities across different teams and organizations, making them really feel close to you and to the organization. I mean, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you really need to believe in people. Sanjay, last one is yours.
Right. I think the last one actually, again, kind of got covered in the earlier question, which was in terms of investing in learning. So, I mean, one of the biggest sort of insecurities that I had when we started out way back in 2009 was that this space is changing so rapidly. How will we keep it up? Now, finally, thinking about that as a challenge and then getting into this whole trainer inside the organization, as well as constantly exposing yourself to new stuff which is going on, visiting events around the world, participating in programs like Dreamforce and others, to constantly equip yourself with new thoughts, new ideas which are happening, and then sharing it internally within the organization has been a real important factor again in the growth, that you're remaining ahead of the curve most of the time.
Okay,
so
that's some
yeah, that's 5.
Yeah, that's making fire. Yeah, so the best part of you guys working together, I think that's also one of the most important learnings here. That running an agency as a single person is a lot of challenge, but I think if you see these guys are working in great combination, which they have missed out. I think the 6th important point is that you need to find the right co-founder, so that as you age together, you can put in a lot more ideas together.
I totally agree with you, Sourav. It's great to have somebody like Sanjay as a partner. And, we fundamentally come from the same soil. So at a very ethical integrity level, we'll think the same way. But beyond that, everything is different about us. So that whole concept of creative conflict, being able to challenge each other on every issue and idea. So you finally come to the right point. And in times of desperation, just being able to hold each other's hand, I think it's a great bonus. So having a right partner and a good partner helps.
Superb, yeah. Okay, one last question from a tips perspective is, so you guys win a lot of digital marketing clients on board for various services that you guys offer, marketing automation or fixations, tech fixations up there from a marketing point of view. What do you see that a client expects in a pitch? What do you think are those 3 secret tips, or let's say secret sauce, that you think makes you guys win the client most of the times?
So I'll answer this first. In my opinion, there is only one secret sauce the client looks for. A, do you understand my business, and are you going to add value to my business? He's not looking for a great creative idea. He's not looking for outreach and impressions. He wants to know, do you know my business problem? What is my pain point I'm sitting on? And the solution you're going to give me, is it going to address my business problem? Most of us as agency experts or creative guys completely miss it. We are so full of ourselves. We just want to keep talking about my idea. We don't even know what's the other guy's problem. If you understand his problem and relate to his problem, the pitch is yours. Sanjay?
Yeah, so of course, that is the core point that Hareesh mentioned. But then with all that, obviously it's a competitive pitch in most of the time. And there is, beyond that, there is no one single answer that this works every time. What you need to do is to see what the opposite guy is, who's the decision maker. Does he come with a very strong creative bend? Does he come with a very strong sort of business oriented bend? What is he really looking for? What is his past? And accordingly ensure that you kind of tone your sort of pitch towards that. And if somebody is very creative oriented, then you want to show him that you have a great creative approach. And besides, of course, the core being that, you understand the business and the brand really well, but after that, you show them creative. Somebody else won't want to see a result orientation, that, how are you going to bring me more business? How are you going to bring me leads, or whatever it is? So it's all that. And, while we might sit on this kind of an interview and profess that, we get the fundamentals, I mean, when it comes to a pitch, it's always still anybody's game. And, it's not like we can say that we win 8 out of 10 or something. It's a hard work. So just to get a perspective to other fellow digital media folks that, there is no shortcut, but you keep learning every experience which you pitch, we win, you don't win. There has to be some learnings which you take back and that you keep refining your approach every time.
Super. And one last point, Harish. Or
What?
that's about it.
Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, super. So we are moving to the last part of the session. I think there's some really great insights, and people who are running agencies should watch this video for a lot of learnings. Personally, I'm an agency owner myself, and I've always looked up to them to get some advices when I'm stuck in my journey. So today there's a lot of learnings for all of us together. Now we're moving on to the rapid fire section, and we'll go round on round. So I'll first move on to Harish. Please expect unexpected questions right now, which which you might not be aware of. So we'll move from Harish to Sanjay. So we'll start with Harish. Harish, there's 6 questions for you. So are you game for this?
Yes.
Okay. How would you react if Sanjay quits his role and leave you alone?
I wouldn't let him go. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So you won't let him go. So that's so Sanjay, like this is like Zindagi Bhar ka Saath types. So not bad.
We have known him for 35 years, more than we have known our wife. So there is no way we are going to let him quit.
Superb, yeah. So that's called business marriages, which is very interesting, more than the time that you've spent with your wife. Name those 3 guys who you think are pillars of Mirum, who's been working with you guys, and you might want to give them a shout out today. Maybe 3 or 4 that you feel are right.
In terms of people?
People, yeah. So the pillars of Mirum, and you might want to name them. Other than Sanjay and Harish, who you think are those 3 people? Who would you want to give a shout out today?
I think it'll end up being a long list, but I definitely want to give a shout out to Mihir. Not many may be aware, but Mihir is a 3rd co-founder in the organization. He kind of started the journey at social level, and at the same time we do, and enjoys the role of a co-founder. And while he's all 30 years of age, he's like simply too smart and too brilliant. So it's great to have somebody like him in the team who just holds the fort in about every fashion. So that's a shout out I like to give.
Okay, so you're just going to give one name, just me. Okay. Yeah. All right. What's the first thing that you do when you wake up?
First thing I do when I wake up is do my yoga.
That's a good one. Not many digital marketers do. They first check notifications. That's on top of their mind. So some learning.
I'm not really so much on digital platforms. I even check my mails like 2 times a day or WhatsApp like once a day. So I'm not. So Sanjay was like constantly on Twitter, and he will vouch for it. And I'm kind of a bit away.
So you're a true entrepreneur. You don't want to do it. You want to get it done.
Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah. So how is it to run an agency? Answer in one word.
Very exciting. I mean, every day in the morning you want to get up and go. There is something new that's going to be happening there.
Challenging, right?
Exciting. It's very exciting.
What's the biggest lie that you have told to a client?
What is the biggest lie?
Yeah.
I'll guarantee you ROI.
That's a good one. And if Social Wavelength was not acquired, would you guys still be running the show now?
Absolutely. I think we like the business. We love what we do. That is very important. When you get up in the morning, you must feel like going to where you go. So I think if Social is not acquired, we'll still be running the business. Absolutely. And it's a good business. It's a profitable business.
Thank you so much, Harish. We move on to Sanjay now. Sanjay, you wake up to realize that you're featured on Forbes. How would you react?
Wow. Okay, that's a pleasant news to wake up to. I'm sure that I would love and share it with my family and friends and all that. So hopefully it's a reality one of these days.
I am sure one day it would be. I pray that it happens. Which company do you think is your largest competitor in India at the moment? Or 2 companies that you want to name?
Actually, it's really, really tough. I mean, in due modesty, it's not that but because we have these multiple verticals, which we talked about earlier, we actually end up competing with different people in different businesses. And each of our verticals are independently, progressive and growth oriented. And we meet different people. And actually, that's the nature of digital also. We are not hitting the same guys in different pitches. So I don't know what, there are enough of us out there, and we don't cross each other's paths. And in fact, when we meet so-called competitors at industry events, we really enjoy chatting up and enjoying our drinks together. And also, it's a very, very healthy fight in that sense, if at all there is a fight. So honestly, it's that way. In that sense,
So
we're not
Sanjay,
one.
yeah, it's a very diplomatic, good answer. Okay.
Whichever way you want to look at it. So
Yeah. Okay. Name three digital marketers who comes on top of your mind, who you think are good digital marketers the moment you hear this question. So let's say you follow these three guys and you learn a lot from them. So who are those three guys?
So, just to sort of feel that we not talk about people within Mirum, because there are a lot of Mirum people who I
Absolutely.
have
Right.
so much respect for. But if I look outside, I have a huge amount of respect for Vivek Bhargav. I mean, he's started out a brilliant journey. So he's one of those. From a pure creative perspective, this young man, Harshal Harshal Karya is a great inspiration as well, from the kind of stuff that he does in terms of the creative work, as well as his personal talent in singing itself is like I'm a big admirer of that.
Super.
And picking a third name, a little tough. Perhaps I would go with Ashok Lala, who's not. I mean, he's more of a consultant today, and but again, a deep talent. I mean, I love to read what he writes and the way he's kind of built out his journey for himself. So probably that's the third name that comes to mind.
Perfect. And in one word, answer how is it to run an agency? Same question that I asked Harish.
One word. So it's I'll try to create one word. Creatively fascinating. I mean, somewhere in that sense, I think it churns. Basically, for me, it's a question of finding the right calling that you are able to have a good mix of left brain, right brain, in that sense that there is a huge amount of creative element to it. At the same time, there is a lot of strategic approach, and this is one business where they both come together. So that really sort of excites me.
Super. So one last question to you, Sanjay. A message that you would like to give those clients who don't pay on time.
We have the control of all your social handles, you know that, right? So sometimes you don't want us to make an inadvertent mistake because we've not got the check in the bank yet.
Right. So yeah, it's like a gunpoint, Okay. Wonderful hosting you, Sanjay and Harish. I look up to you guys, and I really wish that your agency scales up to a big level. And for me, it's a personal learning in this conversation that we've had. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks once again for letting this happen, because this is my first interview with in the series, and I think this is gonna go reach out to a lot more people in the country. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sourav. It was nice to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.